Good evening, and what is up, Razorback Nation? We are back with episode 76 of Hogs on the Hill, your go-to podcast for an in-depth dive on all things Arkansas Razorbacks. We're brought to you by our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand bringing some serious style to golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Found right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us and our friends over at Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, you can check out the Core Brewery Tap Room where you can get Scarlet Letter in all of its various flavors. We've got a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. We're going to recap Silverfield's presser, Arkansas's big win over Louisville last night, along with some Arkansas signing day news, things that have come up since Silverfield's announcement on Sunday. And so with that, we'll get started. Intro presser day. We waited for that. I know they wanted to get past National Signing Day, so we got past that yesterday. Had the presser at 1 o'clock today. And I don't know about you, Zane, but I felt very impressed with it. I feel like he did his job, won the presser, said some great things. Of course, we got the big announcement of Quincy Rhodes, KJ Jackson coming back, two key players on each side of the ball. What was your initial thoughts?
Definitely big to get those two guys back. Definitely good kind of building block to start. Also, I know we talked about before we started, it's like the more I listen to Silverfield, the more I'm excited for the hire. Obviously, like a lot of people have said, you gotta wait to see what roster he puts together. But definitely the right mentality. Definitely trying to get guys who are not just good players, but also good people by the sound of it. I was actually talking with my grandpa on the way home from work today, and he talked about, the team would be a lot better if we just had the Burlsworth mentality. And so that's something that really stuck with me, and that's something I feel like Silverfield is very much just kind of taking head on and going to be able to have the guys with the right mindset. And that's definitely what I think the state and the team needs.
I agree 100%. I mean, it's fantastic to see him come with that mentality. I like the little, blurb that he talked about, hey, we're going to make changes in here. And, he talked about how, hey, I want the lights brighter in here. And somebody was like, oh, we'll get those changed next month. He's like, no, I want it changed now. He's like, if I need to go to Walmart and buy some light bulbs, I will. So, he's got that mentality from day one, like every day. And that's the one thing he hit on is talking about changing culture. He said that starts day one and every day. You got.
That's what I was about to say. It's it's not going to be like he said today. It's not going to be, hey, I need 3 years to rebuild this team. It starts day one. Come in. Don't delay. Don't go. Oh, when we get back, like he said, when we get back from winter break, we're not going to hit hard. We're going to hit it hard now. So definitely good mentality. Don't take a day off. Hit the ground running and get going. So definitely like that. Definitely like it for sure.
Right. And the big wins. And like I hinted on, the announcement came about Quincy Rhodes and KJ Jackson coming back. And he waited till the press conference to talk about that. And Juracek was like, wait a minute, you didn't let me know that. So that was a nice surprise for me. But then on the flip side of that, Juracek made the comment on, there was a lot of questions around finances, rightfully so. I mean, that's the big question is Arkansas going to have, the resources for Silverfield to succeed? And, everybody was asking questions about finances, this. And Juracek was talking about how at the basketball game last night Silverfield was talking with some donors and stuff. And he said after he walked away, one of these donors, after just a few minutes talking with Silverfield, came over to Juracek and said, hey, I'm going to make a 7-figure donation to this football program. Like just after a quick conversation, he really sells what he sees in for the future of this program and really believes in it. And I think that's something that a lot of Arkansas fans can get behind.
Yeah, I definitely think that in terms of that, but also just kind of in general, he's more of a go out and get it. If you don't have what you need, go find out how to get it. Obviously I was a big supporter of Pittman, but I feel like Pittman was at times just kind of like, okay, well, this is what we have to work with. We'll go from there. Silverfield, if he doesn't like it, okay, no, we're going to change it. I'm going to go out there. If I have to, I'm going to get it done. So definitely I feel like, in a sense, more proactive instead of just kind of dealing with the cards you've been dealt, and definitely like that as well.
Right. As he said, he'll go knock on doors if he has to find that extra little bit that could make the difference in the world. So that's fantastic to see that mentality. And so I love the fact that just the energy and everything he's bringing. If you missed it last night, there's some clips on social media of him at the basketball games interacting with the student sections, just being
very
really fired up.
Loved that a lot.
And so, to help us talk a little bit about Coach Silverfield, a guy that knows him very well and that from earlier in the season, we're going to have our buddy Memphis Spence jump on and talk to us about Coach Silverfield and his experience with him during his time at Memphis. So, Memphis Spence, how's it going, man? Good to see you.
Man, first of all, thank you guys for bringing me back on. I didn't know you were going to be bringing me back on because you now have my coach. but here we are. We were just talking earlier in the season about, the matchup between Arkansas and Memphis. I was like, man, we're probably going to lose that game. But if we win that game, you're probably going to have to make some changes. I just didn't know that you were coming for our coach. But I honestly think he's going to be actually pretty good at Arkansas. If there was one, well, I think he would have been better at Auburn, but I think Arkansas, especially if you get the donors behind him, the boosters behind him, he's going to be able to do stuff that maybe you haven't seen in a while because he's an offensive line guy. And I'm a defensive line guy. So, with our interactions, I mean, I can tell you this for a fact, is your offensive line is going to be way better than it is currently. And he's going to get after that first. That's what he's a protect the asset first type of guy. So he can't, which is why a Memphis offensive line can stand up to an Arkansas defensive line. Like, theoretically, that shouldn't happen, but I knew I was like, well, no, we have the horses that can do it, and that's who Silverfield is. But if you're asking me, I just want to get back to seeing Arkansas with the running game they used to have. I mean, it used to be like with certain teams, you didn't even have to pass. It was like 300 yards rushing and put in the backups, right? And I think he might be able to get back to that because help him recruit because he's a decent recruiter, but he's going to need some help with recruiting. But if you get your boosters behind him, the Walmart guys and everything else, because it's not like there's a lack of money at Arkansas. And the reason why he's making those comments is, well, he's used to money because the thing that most people don't know, I know, but I've been in this thing, been doing this 20 years. But the thing that most people don't know about Memphis is, in terms of boosters, like historically, we've been between 25 and 40 most of the time in college football. AutoZone, FedEx, International Paper. I mean, there's not many teams that have 3 Fortune 500 companies behind them, maybe one. But no, we've always had that money. That's not the money we've been missing. We've been missing conference money. That's the only. And now that we can do NIL, and people are like, well, how did they just rebuild the Liberty Bowl? Well, FedEx gave us the money to do it because it's FedEx, right? So, but if you guys get your boosters together and get them real, and he knows how to talk to boosters because that's where all the money is in Memphis, is actually our money, not the conference. But the conference throws in some chump change, but it's not like SEC chump change. Now he's going to have that plus your boosters. I kid you not, Zane and Caleb. If you treat that man right, he's going to have y'all running. It's going to be back to the old school Arkansas days where they're just lining them up and knocking people down because he knows the fundamentals. He's good at that. Get him a great defensive coordinator, please. Because this whole entire time, even though he was 50 and 25, which following Norvell, that's not bad. Norvell takes off to FSU, tries to rebuild that program, has an undefeated season, doesn't get in the playoffs, and then everything falls apart. But following him, he didn't do that bad. He didn't have a losing record. He had a 6-6 record one year, we didn't have a losing record at Memphis. So we didn't kind of like fall back into the ashes or anything like that. We've been pretty fortunate going from Fuente to Norvell to Silverfield because he wanted to be there. And one of the reasons why Norvell's really struggling at FSU is Silverfield kept that line. The line at Memphis was nonsense for the American. It really looked like a junior SEC line, which is what everybody said. And that's the reason why we've been able to compete and be so successful. But I kid you not, you get your boosters behind that guy, and he's used to, we treat him like royalty because we had the money. It's not like, let's get this fixed. And I know y'all have the money too. And you all can Arkansas, honestly, should be around 5th or 6th in the new SEC if y'all can get it together. And Silverfield can help. You're going to have to get him a defensive coordinator, though, because on defense, there's a lot to be desired.
Right. And that's the one thing that, I was glad to see Yurachek commented on in the press conference. They're talking about hiring staff and whatnot. And, he mentioned, in just general terms of, Arkansas's new and financial investments and funding is going to be able to put them in about the middle of the pack, in having larger pools for coordinators, support staff, strength and conditioning. And, that's one thing that, it's like Silverfield was saying too, is like, I had all kinds of people reaching out to me. He said, we're going to build a good staff here. He said, and one thing he said, we're going to bring in somebody defensive on the defensive side of the ball that has SEC experience.
Yes.
So like he has the resources. It's like I've told people all week. And, of course, things are 360 from when the announcement was made on Sunday. Everybody wasn't happy. Everybody's loving it now. But the big thing, as I've been telling people, is like, all right, be mad at the AD, the board, whatever you want. But hey, give Silverfield a chance. Let him come in. Give him everything he needs. If he fails, don't let it because he didn't have resources. He didn't have the money. He didn't have X, Y, or Z. Let it be because if for some reason it just doesn't work. But from what I'm seeing from Sunday to today and how he's talking and, the things he's saying, of course, that's a big part of it is winning that initial press conference. And, he even won a lot of the fans over on Monday by coming in and flipping 4 in-state kids that are in the top 10 of the state. Like, if you want to win your new fans over, that's the way to do it. And so like to your point, with these new funds, these new pools for coordinators, I can't wait to see what staff he puts there because, his presser today, he was like, you guys are going to be loving this staff that I put together. He said it's going to be, a lot of experience, a lot of NFL guys that have had SEC experience, and it's going to be good. And you can bring some insight. There's some reports out there now that, OC from Memphis is going to follow him over to Arkansas.
He might. I can't really say if he will, but he might. There's smoke there. There's not fire yet, but there's smoke there. Those conversations have happened. Those are legit reports. And we're trying to figure out if we want to hold on to him or let him ride. Because that would really solidify a lot of things on your offensive side if you had him. But I really look at this opportunity. I mean, if Silverfield, seriously, Caleb, if Silverfield, if he had the resources, I'm just like, okay, what is he going to do with the resources of Arkansas? What do you do with Walmart money? We saw what you do with FedEx money. What are you going to do with Walmart money? And SEC money, right? Because he won us over too, just like you guys, because we were like, Norvell's leaving, who are we gonna get? He's like, I want the job. I was like, everybody's like, we were just in the Cotton Bowl. Are you sure? And he doesn't have as a matter of fact, I think he's undefeated in bowl games. Now, we haven't been back to a Cotton Bowl or anything like that. He's undefeated in bowl games, yeah. So he prepares well for games.
4-0.
Yeah, he prepares well for games. You're always going to be prepared for a game. He's not going to get. Well, in the SEC, he may get outcoached. He wasn't getting outcoached in the ACC. There were a lot of times where there was just injuries and other unfortunate events. Offensively, he was never outcoached. Defensively, yeah, we've whiffed on a lot of defensive coordinators lately and whatnot. And I was like, man, because Memphis would never lose a game like 7 to 16 or anything. If we lost, it was like 32-38. I'm like, how did we give up 30? Why are we giving up 38 points? So, and it was always like we had this offense, and half the NFL now has offensive players from us. But our defense, and I'm a defensive guy, and that's why I was always complaining, like, what are we doing, guys? We got to get this. We could literally be in the college football playoffs now if we had a defense. Because it wasn't like we weren't scoring points. It's just that our defense wouldn't wake up and stop people on critical downs. But you all played it. You all saw it. There was when our defense woke up in the second half, hey, great. But the first half, we were, it was nonsense. But I think Arkansas, I think this is going to be I'm quietly optimistic on this. I really think this may work out, especially if you get him a vetted, no nonsense defensive coordinator to go along. I mean, I can imagine, because I'll just go ahead and to be honest, I was trying to get Charlie Strong to come and coach our defense because I had a stint with him when I was in Louisville and helped him with some recruiting stuff. So I was like, man, we need somebody, and Charlie, all he did was sit there in Florida, and got a couple of rings just being a DC, and then went up to Louisville and showed up out there. But if you get that caliber of a defensive coordinator, watch out, because all of a sudden you're going to have, especially if Cranston goes up there, you're going to have you'll have a monster if you have like those types of guys up there, and he's no nonsense. He keeps the locker room tight, and I think the running game is going to get a lot better than it is. Ours did. I saw the improvement right off. After year 2, the offensive line was pretty solid. So I think there's a lot of things a lot of great things, Zane and Caleb, that could happen out of this, especially if he has the resources and the support.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. Is I think there's going to be a lot of emphasis put on getting a really good defensive coordinator, especially after how the past couple of seasons have been. Especially this year. I mean, you guys, our game was a prime example. The 1-score losses. We could not figure out a way to just get one crucial key stop. And so, I think there's going to be a lot of emphasis and a lot of weight put on who that hire is going to be. And so, I think I'm excited to see what he does. And then to your other point on the running game, he mentioned in his presser, hinting on Darren McFadden, getting back to those type of days.
One of my favorite guys. Yeah.
And I would love to see that. And I mean, a good way to get back to that is, just casually flip 4-star running back from Missouri that's an in-state kid back to Arkansas. Not to mention with what you got on staff. And, I was talking with Zane the other day. I said I would love to also see, I know he entered the portal. A guy by the name of Sutton Smith just come right on over to Arkansas.
And he look, Sutton Smith is a you already know he's a baller, and that was one guy I was like, if y'all don't stop him, and then what happened?
Yep.
That was and I kid you not, because I know the team. I was like, I kid you not, you have to stop that guy, because that guy is NFL material. He can break it. And if Sutton Smith ends up at Arkansas, I mean, he ain't McFadden, but you can name any of the other guys that are in the league right now from Memphis. He's all of those guys.
Right.
He's all of those starters, and you'll have an NFL running back legit on your team. And all he has to do is make sure that there are no holes in that line. That dude can break it, and he can outrun. He's a 4.4 guy that has like twitch ability, and he can run away from defensive backs, and we saw that. He's just a big play guy. So if Sutton Smith ends up in Arkansas, which I think he's going to, I don't want to lose him. I don't want to lose him, but I understand he's going with this guy. And Arkansas would be. I mean, if he's looking to make a name for himself as a running back, I mean, Arkansas is the place that you would go to do that. I mean, it's not Georgia, it's Arkansasas, right?
Not to mention, you're losing Mike Washington, who quietly had a surprisingly good year. And, to your point on the offensive line, we're only, as of now, transfer portal, all that fun stuff. But as of now, you only lose 2 guys off your offensive line due to eligibility. So, and you've got a lot of young, talented guys there that, if retained, you could have a solid line come to next year. And there's a spot open. We don't know who is in terms of the rest of the guys on this roster on what they're going to do yet. But, there's a spot coming open, at least a majority of carries. They're going to be freed up after this year.
And that's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome. So who's going to be QB next year? Who's the QB?
So I think KJ Jackson actually
Green's gone, right?
Yeah,
Green's out of eligibility.
So KJ Jackson, who actually started the last game, it came out today that he's coming back. So I would assume it's going to be KJ Jackson.
And Silverfield specifically called him out in the press conference. Him and one guy on our D line, Quincy Rhodes, that was getting projected as a potential first-round draft pick, and he announced after conversations with Silverfield that he's coming back for his senior year.
Look,
so
the beauty
making those roster moves.
Yeah, the beauty of Silverfield is the offensive line is going to be so good that it's going to challenge any defensive line to. I mean, you're going to be playing against guys. I project that maybe not next year, but every year after next year, Arkansas is going to have somebody on their offensive line that either is going to be a finalist for the Outland, or they're going to go to the league, or both. So that's your offensive line is going to be coached well, and a lot of running backs are going to be able to go to the league, and that's what they want. That's what I mean when running backs are looking like, well, who can I run behind? Who's gonna come off tackle? Who can I trust to run behind and not get killed before I don't want to be Lattimore or anything like that. I want to actually get to the league. Who can I trust to have an offensive line that's going to protect me, and instead of me hitting defensive ends, get to that second level and be tackled by cornerbacks. And that's what Silverfield does is very sound line. Sometimes the penalties, especially if they're all new, sometimes the penalties are a little until the guys actually know what they're supposed to be doing. This year we had, I think we got 70 something new players or whatnot, and the penalties were just nonsense at the beginning of the year. And during that UAB game, it was nonsense. That's why we lost it. But if you're not shooting yourself in the foot and you actually understand where you're supposed to be, he's going to be able to get that offensive line ready for you all to have McFadden years again.
Yeah.
Starting with Sutton Smith, probably. Right.
And you mentioned quarterback, so a little bit about KJ Jackson. There's not a ton of drop off between him and Talon in terms of physicality. He comes in at 6'4", 225.
Okay.
And he's got some good zip on the ball, good arm talent. The thing that will be fun to watch next year is he's a lefty.
Oh, that's interesting.
And he's very much dual threat type of guy, can throw it, run the ball. We saw him get the start, like Zane mentioned, against Missouri. He came in the second half against Texas, didn't even play a full half and quietly came out and put over 200 yards and a touchdown against the Texas defense. So,
okay. No. That's good. See,
he's just a redshirt freshman this year.
So you got some time with him. That's beautiful. Yeah, that actually might work out, Zane. That may work out, Caleb. I think if he has some time, like next year, but the year after next, and he may be able to flip it. He was very and if you're if he's getting Silverfield because he didn't see that much fall off after Norvell left, then he's right. He can get in there and start changing things and reshape things very quickly. The only difference would be he was already there. He was already there under Norvell, and that's why we didn't have that much drop off. There may need to be some changes that take a year or so, but after that, everything's going to be, because he'll get everything. You'll start seeing it even in the second half of the season. Look at the second half of the season and look what it may differ from the first half of the season next year, even. And you'll start seeing the improvements, week after week after week. And like I said, but you have to get him a good defensive coordinator, because I can't tell you the amount of times where I was just like, if we could just hold teams to 28 points, just hold them to 28, then we'd win, more of these games. We'd be in a college football playoff again. And that was the bane of my existence throughout his entire, there were so many opportunities that we had to close up games, and we just couldn't do it in the fourth quarter. We just couldn't get teams off the field. And it wasn't, at first I thought it was conditioning. It wasn't. There were so many times that people were out of position. I was like, oh, this is a defensive coordinator problem. And either Silverfield, A, doesn't want to make the move to hurt somebody, or B, doesn't see it because he's an offensive guy. And I couldn't figure out exactly which one that was. But like I said, if you bring somebody in Charlie Strong level, watch out. Arkansas actually may be looking at SEC playoff time or playoff game or whatnot if you get somebody that strong as a defensive coordinator, just to sit behind him and make sure the defense gets people off the field. It'll get scary.
Yeah. Well, and I will say his Arkansas schedule next year is going to be welcome to the SEC real fast, because quickly we'll run through this. So opens up the season, North Alabama. Okay. Game 2, you go to Game 2, you go to Utah.
Oh.
Game 3, you got Tulsa at home.
He'll get Tulsa.
And so those are the first 3 that we for sure know the dates. After that, these are just our home and away games. So SEC opponents at home, you've got Georgia, LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, and Tennessee all at home.
That's welcome to the SEC.
On the road, you go to Auburn, to Texas A&M, and to Vandy.
I don't even have any slack. Zero slack.
You get 3 non-conference games, and one of them is at Utah. Like, great. Okay, cool.
That's going to be Silverfield is going to look at it as a challenge. He's going to be like, hey, because what's Utah known for their offensive line? He's like, I'm sure I can get Arkansas's offensive line to, that's going to be a barometer for, the rest of the season, to see exactly how that offensive line, kind of holds up against that Utah defense. And like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about what may happen, because I know Silverfield's a great guy. He's going to bring in quality recruits, and he's always looking for quality. And sometimes, look, it's college football. Academics are important, But sometimes he'll pick the academic guy maybe over the guy that I think is a little bit more skilled. And I'm like, guys, we got to win these football games, especially on defense. Like, yeah, we got to win these football games. But you're going to have a very quality roster. Guys are going to go to class. Nobody's going to be playing school. You know, everybody. He has a very, and it was like that with Norvell also. Under Fuente, no, we had some people were playing school. But under Norvell kind of put that into place. Like, hey, we want everybody to graduate. And Silverfield kind of kept that up. So it's a very high bar in terms of academics when it comes to Silverfield as well.
Do you think there's a connection there with kind of the discipline and maybe hopefully less penalties? Because I know we've kind of had a couple games this year where penalties killed us. So, I mean, I kind of think there's one, but I just want to get someone else's opinion on that.
You would hope so, Zane. See, you would hope so. You know, you would think like, okay, well, if somebody's disciplined enough to show up for class and disciplined enough to, make sure they're hitting their tutor, make sure they're doing this, that, and the other, that they're disciplined enough in practice to make sure that they're in the right place and not allowing the skill that they have to kind of overtake their training, because that's what happens that's what happens with our defense. I remember I was in the show last time. I was like, the defense, they're all these guys are fast, they're talented, but they try to use their talent instead of their training. They're always out of position. They'll start running to the line. I'm like, dude, you're in cover four. The reason why you're in cover four is you're supposed to be covering four. You're not supposed to be blitz. Well, nobody asked you to blitz on cover four. I don't care how fast you think you can recover. You got beat, and that's what kept happening. People would just throw over our head. I was like, you're fast, but you're not that fast.
Yeah.
You're fast, but you're not. You can't. If you actually paid attention to your assignment and followed your assignment, you would have been in position to knock that ball away instead of being 2 feet out of position, and now that's a catch for 40 yards. But so I would hope so, Zane, because we had there was still some people that had 3.0s that they were just boneheaded and would be out of position, and the coaches would get mad at them. They do the same thing next week. We're like, okay, what we can do with that. But hopefully, the academics lines up with the discipline, because Silverfield is a high discipline guy.
Right. And so, a couple other questions before we let you get out of here. So if you had to guess, not trying to just say, hey, give us some insider intel, but as a fan watching, are there any other specific guys that you could potentially see follow Silverfield to Arkansas that you would hate to lose from Memphis?
Well, I'm not going to tell you who they are, but
as soon as you asked that, I was like, I don't think we'll get a straight answer on this one.
I'm not going to tell you who those guys are, but you can probably figure it out. Well, let's put it like this: Silverfield already knows who those guys are,
right?
And even though this was coming into the season, we lost so many guys. I think we had 70-something new guys on the squad. I was just like, just give everybody a scholarship and hope for the best. I thought this was going to be, I was like, man, this might be his first losing season. Instead, what are we, 8-4? And until a couple of games ago, I think we were projected the first college football playoff bracket we were projected. And I was like, and that was actually on the adversity that he had to overcome with losing pretty much everybody last year. It's kind of amazing when you think about it. Beating Arkansas, I'm going to shoot straight with you. I didn't think we were going to win. I was like, no, man, they're gonna beat us. I mean, I already know what this team is and everything else, and all they have to do is not do these things. And y'all's defense let Sutton Smith loose, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, if you're looking at a scouting report, Like, that's the one guy. Like, look, you can't let this guy have 100 yards and still expect to win, because the combination of the other backs and the quarterback's going to have another 100 yards, and you can't allow anybody to have 200 yards rushing on you and think that you're going to actually win those games. So, but I'm not going to tell you. I have in my head who those guys are, but I can't tell you who the offensive lineman is or the linebacker. So I won't. I'm not going to tell, because if somebody sees this in Memphis, they're going to be like, Spence, you dog, you turned us over. You turned us over to Arkansas. I'm like, no, I didn't. I just pointed out that there was an offensive lineman and a linebacker that I hope you don't lose. And y'all will be able to figure it out. And I know Silverfield knows who these guys are. So
yeah. And so one last thing for you, from your guys' perspective, you know, who are some top guys that you would love to take over at Memphis?
You know, there have been a couple of people that have asked me that question recently, and I'm torn in a whole lot of different directions, because I really didn't expect to lose Silverfield, honestly, this year. Because there was a lot of rumbling about, well, should we make a change or something? Because obviously in 5 years, he hasn't gotten that defense together, and that's why we keep losing. Or should we make him hire, certain people, whatnot? We're not trying to blow up the spot or anything like that. But because we were kind of like in limbo. It was the Mike Tomlin thing. It was like, well, he hasn't had a losing season. You can't fire a guy that hasn't had a losing season, right? But he wasn't doing enough.
He wasn't
to
getting
get
over
us
the hump.
Exactly. And I was just like, man, we should have won the American Athletic Conference. We should have won that at least 4 times out of his 5 years if we would have had the defense we needed. But that kind of was getting under people's skin, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm a defensive guy. I was like, no, that's right. One of the guys, I wanted Heartline, honestly, and the USF got him, and I was like, no, man, we can never lose out to, we can't lose out to coaches to USF. I don't care what kind of booster club they have. So that kind of pissed me off. I was hoping to get Charlie Strong in there as our coach. I don't think that's going to happen. I can almost, with a degree of certainty, say that his agent nor him, he's not interested in coaching Memphis.
So do you think there's any chance of him coming to Arkansas with how much you've brought Charlie Strong up?
Possibly.
Okay.
I mean, look, I'll say this. It wouldn't surprise me if he found himself, he's been focused on a lot of other things here recently, especially after Texas, it really put a bad taste in his mouth, because he was already there winning it with Louisville. He was like, should I go? Should I not go? I turned over. I was on air in Louisville at the time. Some of his coaches, staff heard me talking about Lamar Jackson, and I was like, we need to scout this guy. Spence thinks, because I was down there looking at defensive guys. I was like, who's this? They can't catch this kid. They can't tackle, right? And I was like, who is this guy? And I was like, Lamar Jackson, this, that, and the other. And I was like, I just watched this high school kid that never took a sack. And that's rare, usually there's one sack or something like that, but he escaped everything. And so, yeah, they went down there and looked at him, recruited him to Louisville. It was Charlie Strong's guys that recruited them. Texas thought that they were going to get Lamar Jackson, honestly, when they got Charlie Strong. They thought it was going to be a package deal, but his mom kind of vetoed that. and stuck with Louisville because they were the ones that offered him the scholarship. And the rest is history, right? Heisman, the NFL MVP now. But Charlie Strong, if you can convince Charlie Strong to be the defensive coordinator at Arkansas just to get back at Texas, I do it.
They are one of our 3 permanent rivals. So
exactly. I think because I can tell you that didn't sit well with him at Texas. Okay. And if that's the sort of like, if you get some of his boosters, hey, don't you want to get back at Texas? Actually, I do. So, I mean, it might work.
Play the revenge card on the hire.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I don't know. I mean, he would love to have the opportunity to just crush Texas after all the nonsense that went on down there. After they decided, they were going to uproot him and get him there. I was like, okay, then they didn't get behind him.
Yeah.
Right. He did that. And it put a bad taste in his mouth. He didn't even really want to coach anymore after that. But I think Charlie Strong could be a great defensive guy if he shows up at Arkansas, and because the motivation would be Texas. But he's the type of caliber defensive guy that if you get that behind the Silverfield, y'all look. It would be the elevation that you've seen with Vandy. Now Vandy's in the conversation. They may not make it in, but they're in the conversation, right?
Right.
Because they got the coaching staff together, and they've always had the money. That's the thing. Like the Vols, Vandy, and Memphis, all of them have money. That's not the issue. The issue is their desire and getting the coaching staff together so that they can recruit the right players. And, once Vandy decided they wanted to make that investment instead of in baseball and basketball, actually football, the rest is history. But you get a good guy like that behind him, or somebody of his caliber. And, you're going to be in the conversation. You're going to be in that 8, 9, 10 win season. And then just trying to figure out what it is to get him over that hump. What's going to get him to that. Because he's had 10-game winning seasons with us. We've never been undefeated.
It wasn't like 10 win, 11 win, and then this year 8. So.
Yeah. So, but that Norvell season, that was different. And Norvell did it with FSU also. So it wasn't like a fluke that he did it with us and got us to the Cotton Bowl. He did that with FSU also and didn't get anywhere. It was really ridiculous. But I don't know who we should. I've heard a whole lot of different, different suggestions on who should take over, and I don't know. I'm a little still conflicted about it because the guys that I want, most of them aren't available anymore because this coaching season is just nonsense. But I can see. Now I'm not even gonna throw his name out there.
Is there anyone being mentioned that you don't really like or want?
No.
Okay. So there's no one that's like, ooh, no, do not pursue him.
Well, nobody that I've heard their name come up that's interested in the Memphis. Now there are coaches that I'm like, no.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I mean, there are always coaches that I'm like, absolutely not. And sometimes people don't listen or heed my warnings, but there are coaches that sometimes fail up. Oh, you've had one of those. Yeah. You've definitely had a fail up coach before. But if you don't see them, especially if you're getting them from the American and they haven't won their division or won, 9, 10 games, they're not going to work out in the SEC, especially in what is the SEC West. With that schedule, it's not going to work. But I think I hope, because I was telling LSU about this with Brian when they hired Brian Kelly. I was like, Brian Kelly has a hard time getting over that hump. He's not going to career wise. He's not going to lose more than 5 4 or 5 games because he's always done that. He's always been like the 8-4 to 10-2 guy. That's his career. The majority of his seasons fall in there. Now, if that's good with you, just to be in the conversation, he's going to do that. Win a national championship, he hasn't before. I covered him when he was in Cincinnati. He had a lot of opportunities, to be in the mix. He was getting guys. He was literally picking off guys from Ohio State that were, you're going to be on Ohio State's bench and getting them to play at Cincinnati, which is ridiculous, especially back then. But he's always been able to recruit. And when he went to Notre Dame, I was like, all right, if he doesn't win a championship here, I don't know if it's going to happen. So I told all the LSU folks, I was like, I don't know. I've already said I don't think it's going to happen because he didn't do it at Notre Dame. It could. You're LSU. It's not a talent issue. It's whether or not he can actually, scheme up these games and win with LSU. You say, can he beat Georgia? I don't know. Can he beat Bama? I don't know. He'd beat Mississippi State. I mean, Memphis would beat Mississippi State. Who cares? But we're not talking about the lower tier schools or anything like that. We're talking about can he actually be one of these, play for an SEC championship? And that was because that's the standard there. Mm-hmm. And if you don't hit that standard in 3 or 4 years, then you're out. Yeah. But I think that Silverfield is going to do pretty well at Arkansas. He's going to do better than this year, obviously. But he may not have a losing season there either. It may be maybe
not with the schedule next year, but that'll be tough, honestly.
I after reading that, after you told me that schedule, Zane, I think it's 6-6 just because it's his first year. But I think that improves year 2. I think it's more of an 8-4 year. I think, you get the right pieces together, especially the defense, you'll start seeing those 9-10 game winning seasons.
Sure.
And I'll call it here. I kid you not, though. I hope that the boosters hear this, and I hope you guys listen to me. You got to get him the right defensive coordinator, somebody that knows, that can see his blind spots, because he has them on defense, and can get teams off the field.
Right.
It's a 100%. Must. It's a must. But yeah, I haven't put in too much thought about our coach yet. There's some, like I said, we've already lost out to some of the guys that I wanted. Charlie Strong might still be available for Arkansas. Who knows?
There you go. Well, hey, man, we appreciate you jumping on, giving some insight, talking some football, talking some Ryan Silverfield. But, hey, best of luck to you guys in your coaching search. And, we'll have to talk again at some point. But we appreciate you taking time to jump on with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate any time that I get with you guys. You guys really know what you're talking about. And I'll make some time for you whenever you guys want me on next. All right?
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
You too.
Well, that was Memphis Spence joining us, giving us some insight on Ryan Silverfield, on his time at Memphis, and some hints at who he might be potentially looking to bring over from that Memphis squad. So
I would be more than happy with Charlie Strong, just saying. I'll leave that out there.
I was about to say, hey, and he fits the check box that Arkansas people like to do, and has Arkansas ties.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
But yeah, I mean, so I'm excited. It's gonna be fun to see. We'll quickly hit on, so we mentioned
cautiously optimistic, but
exactly. And so, just quick recap: early national signing day was yesterday, and of course, the big news: Arkansas flips number 1 in-state recruit Danny Beal. T.J. Hodges flips from Missouri. 4-star running back out of Bryant. Anthony Kennedy, big D lineman that flipped from Miami, in-state kid from Little Rock Central. And the other big flip for in-state kid was Ja'Cory Smith from teammates with TJ Hodge. So, good first 4 to get flipped in, 24 hours. He didn't have long before early signing day got here. So, to come in here, get those guys, and of course the couple of flips you got from, the guys at Memphis, Jude Hall.
I'm excited about that kid. So he might be my favorite from early signing period.
Brandon Ford, the DB as well. So 2 flips you got there, and now, like he mentioned in the presser, it's time to look on towards the transfer portal once it opens up here in January. Of course, there's still, some guys that he mentioned. He said there's some guys still out there that haven't signed in terms of signing day that, hey, if they fit the system, they would be great. And he said, we'll see what we can do. Pigpen asked, he said, Silverfield said he will recruit 20 to 30 high school kids a year. Calipari said that's coaching kids to go somewhere else these days. Think that many high school kids is good. If he can keep them and develop them like he wants to do, yes.
Yes, and if you're recruiting kids that understand that they may not play much that first year, but development piece, I don't think it's a problem. Now, if you have guys who are expecting to play freshman year and you're recruiting that many, that's not going to work, obviously. But if you can bring guys in, hey, like for example, say a couple years down the line, hey, look, this is what I've been able to do with the running backs with the O-line that we bring in. Come here. Yes, you may sit that first year or so, but you'll develop and you'll grow and have that opportunity in a couple years maybe as you're a little bit farther along. Then I don't think it's that big of an issue. But again, it just depends on if the high school kids are willing to maybe sit for a year, because obviously 20 or 30 high school kids a year coming in expecting to play right off the bat, they will go somewhere else.
Right. So it'll be fun to watch and see what he does, if he can get that mentality through to some of these kids. And, if we do get the funding that you can pay them to keep them here that long too, that'll help. Yeah, so, like Memphis Spence said, get the resources, get the boosters, the donors behind him, and, see what he can do. So,
yeah, 100%. So
fantastic stuff from his presser today. We'll keep you guys updated, as he said, over the next week or so. He said he would like to have his staff finalized. He mentioned in his presser today talking about how, hey, when we kind of have these guys locked down under contract and we can talk to you about it, I'll be one of the first ones to sit down and talk to you guys about them. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see some announcements maybe tomorrow into the weekend, because he's going to want to get these guys here and recruiting, talking to these players, start building, if you will. So we already know 2 of those guys. The GM from Memphis is coming over, Casper, and then the strength and conditioning coach as well. So, 2 for sure names that we know that are headed to Arkansas in some capacity. So we'll see what happens from there. So, time to just wait and find out and see what happens. I mean, it's like you said, cautiously optimistic. I've liked what I've seen so far. He's won me over so far. He's doing the right things. So Pigpen says Archer definitely not coming down to KJ State.
Yeah, he already
signed with
Utah. So with him signing, I figured that I either figured that KJ was coming back. Also trying to be cryptic with the tweets. Could not figure that out, but now we may know. Or maybe there was another quarterback he was going after. I know the Cole Bergeron had come up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The 4-star uncommitted quarterback that decommitted from Virginia Tech. So I knew we were at least going some other direction as soon as I saw that that Archer was signing elsewhere.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to see. So as we continue on here, let's flip over to some basketball, as Arkansas got a huge win last night over number 6 Louisville, 89-90. This was definitely a must-win, much-needed win for this Arkansas team. Being 0-2 so far against some legit blue bloods in college basketball, and playing another top almost to that level Louisville team. Coming back home, let's get a big win. And, this team stepped up. It got a little hairy there, towards the end of the in the second half.
Louisville started to make some threes, and that's, they shot, 37 threes or something, and we knew that coming in that they can shoot the three. They rely on it a lot, live by the three, die by the three, but yeah, it was one of those, hey, we knew to not let up, because obviously if you're shooting threes at that high of a clip, you can work your way back into a game no matter what. So
right. And I think that showed growth in this team, that they're able to close out a game finally. We've seen a lot of in these even the Duke and Michigan State game. You've seen at times when Arkansas had the lead, they looked like they were getting ready to, almost get ready to run away with it. And then, the other team climbs back in, and then they can't just finish. Yeah. This was a step forward.
He said it best in the post-game interview where, he was like, hey, we held our own. We played really well against two really good teams. We really needed this win, though, as, we weren't able to pull out the win the previous two times. But, yeah, it was a huge win, and definitely kind of, yes, we competed well all three of those games. But to finally get the W on one of them, definitely really good.
Right. And so you jump in, me and you were at the game, and, it seemed like at the start, especially that first half,
TV was just going off.
Exactly. Brazil was, having a night, as we know, it advertised before the game started, 34 NBA scouts across 20 teams were at the game last night. So, of course, he's going to want to show out. We get there. He puts up 17 early points, had an injury scare, but comes out and, made not as aggressive in the second half. I'm sure that was probably bugging him, but finished his game with 21 points, 8 of 11 shooting from the field, 3 of 4 from deep, 2 of 3 from the line. He adds 5 rebounds, 1 block, 2 steals in 32 minutes. So, a good night for Brazil, the type of night that we need from him consistently to have this success.
Speaking of what we need consistently, Malik Ewan played great. 12 points, 9 rebounds. Was great to see that from him. I know I've seen a lot of stuff online about him, not really doing what people had hoped for coming in, but hopefully, this is a good, get in his groove, because I know he averaged, 14 and 7 at Florida State last year. So 12 and 9, I will gladly take that. If we can get that production game in, game out, fantastic.
Right. And we talked about it at the game. I think it applies for both him and Pringle, as, they're just trying to fill out their roles on this team. They came from places where they had to be one of the top guys, to contribute for their teams to have success, where, they come into Arkansas where, they just need to be, contributors, guys that are not going to be your second, third options necessarily. They're going to be guys that, come in, get you 8 to 10 points, 12 points, and
for sure,
a handful of boards. They're not going to be that guy like, that's what we've got TB, Acuff, and Malik Thomas for. Those are going to consistently should be your top 3 scorers most games. Now, every now and then you might have a Carter Knox jump up there. You might have a, DJ Wagner having a DJ game type situation.
Yeah.
But night in, night out, I would put money on TB, Darius, and Malik being your top 3 scorers, throughout this season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those 3, I think they've shown, hey, consistently they can consistently be fantastic. I mean, obviously, we are leaning on them a lot. I think that as SEC play starts up in January, I think that for the longevity of the season, we're going to need to maybe not rely on them as much as we have been, which is why I feel like it was good for Ewan to have a good game and Billy to play the way he has been. Like, I feel like it's one of those, hey, we kind of need to get everyone else involved. That way we're not relying on 3 specific players, whereas we can throw in any of the 8 and be happy with it.
Right. And, something that we mentioned and we wanted to talk about is, and Pigpen mentions it here too, is he said the second group Cal put in, they need some help. Defense is still suspect. I agree. That is, that was the group that was in there when Memphis started making a run, and we kind of looked at each other. We're like, hey, we need to do something here. We need to, calm these guys down. And, we were talking about it late in the game situation. This is, prime spot for a guy like DJ, who's your kind of game manager, to come in, settle these guys down, and get the foot back on the gas, if you will.
Yeah. But to kind of counter that, though, yeah, like obviously there's still some growth development that's needed, and feel free to comment if you're talking about someone else, but when you're saying the second group, I'm assuming the three guys I did not start. But looking at that, the three guys that didn't start were Ewan, Richmond, and Malik Thomas, who they put up 12, 10, and 17 respectively, and they were combined 9 of 18 from the field. I mean, if you're shooting 50% from the field, yeah, the defense wasn't lights out, but they were very good. I mean, Billy had the trailing blocked three-pointer. Like, they played very well. So I do agree that at times the defense is suspect, but I think overall those are first three guys off the bench, some of the best three bench players that you will see in the country coming in. And I use bench player very lightly because all three of them, as every guy who's playing, has a large role in the team, and everyone seems to be clicking at a good pace. And especially last night, they seem just to be doing really well. So I agree, though, with the defense at times being suspect, but generally speaking, I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing so far from it.
Yeah, I've always loved, and it's hard not to love the hustle and the energy that Billy brings when he's on the court. Like, he is going 110 miles an hour, 100%.
Very much gives me Kamani Johnson vibes of just 110% every play. Almost to the time where it's like, okay, take a step, take a second, calm down. But no, I love the energy, and yeah, definitely a fun guy to watch.
It cracked me up. The number of people on social media talked about how they could specifically hear Cal yelling, "Stop it, Billy!" Like, he's good, but he's still got some growth, and Cal is making it known. And it's like, hey, I'm trying to help you here. You got to stop.
Yeah. But then he has those plays where he goes coast to coast for that big jam, and it's like, okay, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I get it. Right. I can't tell you to stop. Like, I love it. So definitely a lot more good than bad.
100%. And, we can't continue without highlighting, even though it wasn't the leading scorer, but it just, we talked about it last night, filling the stat sheet. Darius Acuff last night, 17 points, 6 of 18 from the field. Didn't hit any of his three-pointers, 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Added in 5 rebounds, 10 assists, so a nice little double-double there in 36 minutes of play. So, I think we're seeing him continually grow as the season goes on. But, it's tough for me to find a better guy that finishes at the rim than him.
Yes.
His touch and the way he can drive and finish this season has just been amazing.
We're very good at finishing at the rim, and he's fantastic at it. The only thing I would like to see, obviously it comes with being a freshman, kind of getting your feet under you, is he had 4 turnovers last night. He's averaging 2.1 a game. Obviously, he's playing, like last night, 36 minutes. He's playing a ton of minutes.
Right.
There's going to be times where he's tired, and that may lead to a weak pass or something where it's a turnover. But, like I said, Billy, more positive than negative. And I think just as the season progresses with him being a freshman, it's going to get more under control and be better.
Right.
But that is one thing that kind of sticks out to me where I'm like, okay, let's just see if we can grow from that and go from there. So
100%.
And there was another comment that Pigpen just said about taking Acuff over Boogie. I 100% agree with that. Tuesday, Boogie had a really good stretch though for Florida.
Right. It's not like not hating on Boogie.
He's not looking like the guy that we had recruited him to be. I'm definitely happy with Acuff. Definitely more than happy with Acuff. So, and no disrespect to Boogie, but I will gladly take Acuff.
Exactly. He's still going to be a good player in his own respect. It's just maybe not necessarily.
And
like if you put it on a scale,
just not when we're playing them.
So. Right. And if you look at it on a scale, I feel like Boogie, we thought we were getting Acuff out of Boogie, and he's seeming like he's trending towards being a DJ type of player.
Yes, and no disrespect to DJ with that comment either. Very much just, hey, if it's like crunch time, I'm very comfortable with DJ having the ball in his hands. He showed last night a few drives, utilizing the rim as an extra kind of, not defender per se, but kind of as an extra
Obstacle.
defense from the block. He's very good around the rim as well. Between Wagner, A-Cuff, and Malik, and honestly, everyone else, hey, drive it to the rim all you want. We are very good at finishing at the rim right now, and I am more than happy with that.
Not to mention, we talked about it. This allows us to easily attack the opposing team and get them in foul trouble. We saw that last night.
Exactly.
Early on in the game, I
the
think
free throw discrepancy was, well, yeah, like I saw a bunch of people online today, some Louisville fans saying that, oh, well, it was home cooking. Well, okay, yes, but you also threw up 37 three-pointers.
yeah,
That's not like you're not going to give as many foul calls when you're launching that
Exactly.
many threes. It's being physical, attacking the paint. And that's something I would like to see us do more consistently. We do have games where we don't attack the paint as hard or as often. I think with our size and athleticism, we got to attack the paint every game multiple times and use the athleticism and physicality
Right.
advantage.
when the opposing team has 10 fouls already by the 14-minute mark, you
Yeah.
know it's going to be a good night from the free throw line. As long as this team continues to shoot well from the free throw line. They shot 77% last night. So, that mid to upper 70s, let's stay mid up. We've seen
Yeah.
some games this year where they haven't shot it great, but, this team has the ability to be a team that can feast from the line, if they're going to drive.
So the 77.1% last night, that was our second lowest on the season.
I'll take it.
Second only to at Michigan State.
Yeah.
So I will take, hey, if 77% is your second lowest through 8 games, I'll take that.
Right. Pigpen says, we were bigger and stronger than Louisville. SEC teams will be just as big or bigger.
Yes and no. I agree. Like, yeah, you're gonna have some teams with some posts that are gonna make life difficult, very difficult. But you're also gonna have some teams that are guard heavy like Louisville was, and I think our guards stepped up to the challenge, and that's what excites me about it. But I also feel like Louisville is a very good team. And I feel like they're going to be a top 4 seed come March Madness. So I really think, not discrediting what you're saying, but I think that they're a big and strong team. I think they're going to be just fine. So I think that, if we revisit this in March, they're going to be pretty good down low as well as the guard play.
Right. And that's the thing to consider is, right next to us, they probably have a nice pair or set of guards in the country compared to, I told you, I said, I'll take our guards against anybody in the country. This team had their own very nice set of guards. And I mean, specifically,
Michael Brown had a very nice poster.
Yep.
That was rough, but yeah, that was impressive.
That was the guy I was going to hit on, the freshman, Michael Brown, 22 points last night, 7 of 19, 2 of 13 from deep, 6 of 10 from the line. He had 5 rebounds, 3 assists in 34 minutes. So took him a little bit to get going. Arkansas defense did a great job on him, but a guy that's talented as he is going to get going at some point.
Let Billy, with his energy and length and athleticism, let him guard the team's best three-point shooter, and we should be fine because he was doing very well on him last night.
Right. I agree. So it's going to be fun to watch this team. They're continuing to develop. I like the growth that we've seen, not just from the Michigan State game, which has only been a few weeks. Cal's really hammering home the key points that this team needs to work on or fix to continually improve.
Doesn't hurt playing everything from the Elite Eight either. That'll definitely only help in the long term. So
exactly. So, speaking of that, your next 4 games, 2 of those are against those, Elite Eight opponents. You got Fresno State and Little Rock on Saturday. You come back and head to Dallas at the American Airlines Center. You play Texas Tech, come back home, play Queens, and then head over to New Jersey to take on Houston at the Prudential Center. And then you finish your non-con with James Madison at home on December 29th before starting conference play in the new year. So, a couple more big-time opponents that, I feel like Arkansas is gearing up for. We showed we can win at home. The big thing I want to see is, this team get it done on a neutral site in front of a, split fan base where you don't have all of 19,000 people of Bud Walton behind you. It's somewhere where, you're going to have some fans there that are going to be going for you, but then you're going to have a lot of other fans that are going to be just going against you as well.
That's going to be the big question mark. And that's one where, going back to 2020 through now, Arkansas had an 83.5% winning percentage, excluding the postseason, at home, but a 41.7% win percentage on the road. So that's a huge discrepancy that obviously we need to try to address. And obviously, it's harder or easier said than done. I think it's by scheduling a bunch of these neutral site games that is going to help as the season progresses, get them kind of familiar with not being home court with all of your fans. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be fun as we continue to see these guys progress. But like we said, they'll be back in action Saturday against Fresno State before they get ready to head down to Dallas to take on Texas Tech at American Airlines. So as we get kind of ready to wrap up the show, we've done this before, and it's, throughout the entire year. It's the last week of the season, but we'll get you in on this last week, Zane, is we've been going through and doing the Pick'em contest on ESPN.
Okay.
Week to week. And so on the season, I'm sitting at 84 and 56 on my win-loss in my Pick'ems.
Okay.
And so first game we got up this week is the Conference USA Championship game, Kennesaw State versus Jacksonville State. And Kennesaw finished the season at 9-3, Jacksonville State 8-4. Both teams coming off a win. Kennesaw State coming off a double overtime win over Liberty. Jacksonville State coming off a win, 37-34 against Western Kentucky. The spread for this game is set at 2.5 in favor of Kennesaw State.
Give me Jacksonville State because it is also at Jacksonville State, being, it's one of the conferences that plays home games instead of a neutral site game.
Right.
And I also do pick'ems with my brother and grandpa. So I
think you froze there for a minute, but there we go. Yeah, I'm like you. I think I'm going to go with Jacksonville State. I've seen what they've done this year. We had this, I believe, this same exact matchup a couple weeks ago in the Pick'em. So, and it didn't go the way we thought. So, like you, Jacksonville State home field advantage. I'll pick against the spread like you and go with Jacksonville State. Next up, we move over to the Sun Belt Championship. Troy is playing James Madison, ranked 25th, 11-1. Troy coming in at 8-4 in Bridgeforth Stadium in Harrisburg, Virginia. Troy coming off a win, 28-18 over Southern Miss. James Madison coming over a 59-10 win over Coastal Carolina. Spread for this game, 23.5 in favor of James Madison. I think this is an easy one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Because, seeing the match and my initial thoughts, 3-touchdown favor. So now I'm like, well, that'd be 21. So give me Troy on that big of a spread. I think it'll be a 3-touchdown game.
Okay.
You going James Madison?
I am.
Okay. They definitely got that potential. I can also see them with it being a conference championship and still having a bowl game. I can see maybe a little bit of letting off the gas and maybe, resting and touch. But obviously don't know for sure.
Yeah. Next, we jump over to the American Conference with two games that neither have a head coach. You have North Texas at 11-1 taking on Tulane 10-2. Both teams ranked Tulane 20th, North Texas 24th. As we know, North Texas's coach Eric Morris left to go to Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
John Summerall from Tulane is now the head coach at Florida. Both these teams coming off wins last week. North Texas beating Temple 52-25. Tulane beating Charlotte 27-0. This game is going to be held in New Orleans. Again, another game at Tulane, where the conference championship is the highest conference seed. Spread for this game, 2.5 in favor of North Texas.
Yeah, I'll take Tulane.
I was about to say, I'm going to go North Texas in this game. I've liked what they've done with Mestamaker at quarterback, the numbers he's been able to put up. I know his head coach is gone, but see what he can do in national championship or conference championship.
Fair enough. I'll take the defense of Tulane. So
we jump over to the Mountain West. Dan Mullen's UNLV Rebels 10-2 heads to Boise to take on the Broncos 8-4. The lovely blue field. UNLV coming off a win against Nevada 42-17. Boise State coming off of a close victory against Utah on the road, or Utah State 25-24. Spread for this game 4.5 in favor of Boise State.
Give me UNLV. I'll take Dan Mullen.
I was about to say another one. We're going to go different routes. I love me some Boise State Broncos in the blue field. I have family that live up there. My sister-in-law lives up in Boise. We drove by the blue field. And a little rep for Taylor Green that used to play at Boise. So
fair enough. I get that for sure. I do like the blue field. I just think, UNLV's 10-2 and Boise State's already beat them once. I think UNLV will have a little bit better time this go around.
Yeah.
If they don't win, it'll still be, I think, 3-point, maybe a field goal difference. So,
yeah. We jump over to the Big 12 championship as the BYU Cougars are taking on Texas Tech. As we know, Texas Tech ranked 4th, in the college football playoffs squarely, 11-1. This game is going to be at AT&T Stadium down in Arlington. BYU at number 11, 11-1. Both these teams coming off victories last week. BYU beating UCF 41-21. Texas Tech beating West Virginia on the road 49-0. These teams played just not a month ago now, with Texas Tech being the winner in that game 29-7. Spread for this game is 12.5 in favor of Texas Tech. They are playing for one of those top spots there.
No, that's what I'm like. It's one of those that's like, well, is Texas Tech
I think we might have lost Zane for a minute. We'll give him a minute and see if he pops back up here. But yeah, this has a chance to be a big game, have some implications across the college football playoff. BYU right there, at 11, Texas Tech at number 4. Jumping into the spot that A&M had the prior week. So Pigpen jumps in here and says, give me BYU. This is a tough one. I've always been a big BYU fan. And love to see what they do. I mean, they were worried that they might lose their coach, and then to Penn State, but he decided to stick it out at BYU, and so the lovely fans over there decided to send over plenty of crumble cookie. That has been the storyline there over the past couple of days. So looking at this, this is a tough matchup. Nearly a 2-touchdown spread for. There we go. He's back. You're saying, what were you saying about Texas Tech?
I mean, I just don't know if they lose, do you think that they'll still be able to make the playoff? Or do you think a loss here eliminates them? Because then
we
you're
saw a
talking
similar
okay,
situation last year.
yeah. I think give me BYU though with the spread. I mean, they kind of got embarrassed on national TV the first go around. I think they'll kind of hold their own a little bit better. Same mindset I have with UNLV though. So
I was about to say, I'll take Texas Tech. They spent the money in the offseason, built up this roster. I think they get it done to at least make the playoffs, and then see who their matchups is going to be. We jump over to the MAC championship, so some action here. The Miami of Ohio Redhawks 7-5 on the season, taking on Western Michigan Broncos 8-4. This game is going to be in Detroit, Michigan, at Ford Field. Both these teams coming off wins last week. Miami beating Ball State 45-24. Eastern Michigan Western Michigan beating Eastern Michigan 31-21. Spread for this game 1.5 in favor of Western Michigan. It's like we joked all week taking Western Michigan. Yeah. We joked all year. We get some of these weird games like this that don't talk a lot of action, but it's fun to watch.
I mean, what's the MAC thinking? I mean, they're not playing on Tuesday or Wednesday right now. Like, that's new, right?
Right. They're playing on Saturday at 11 a.m. So
I know. I'm like, they're like, oh man, we actually have to play on the weekend. What?
Right. So I'm gonna take Western Michigan as well. As we continue on the big game, one of the biggest ones, the SEC championship. A lot determined. Last week, A&M blew their shot to be in this, and I think it's quite funny, as can't stand the Aggies, so
can't stand
you have number 3
not staying Texas, so I kind of hate that Texas was the one to do it.
Right, exactly. So Mercedes-Benz, you have Georgia, all too familiar with Mercedes-Benz taking on Alabama. We've seen this story numerous times before, numerous different outcomes. Number 3, Georgia, 11-1. Alabama sitting at 10-2 at 9th. Both, as of now, in the playoffs, both coming off wins. Alabama, of course, having that Iron Bowl victory over Auburn 27-20. Georgia beating Georgia Tech 16-9.
Georgia's too familiar with Mercedes-Benz. Also, I feel like I could be wrong. I could have misinterpreted watching it, but I feel like Georgia has another gear that they kind of can kick into if they need to, and you saw that with Texas. I mean, it was 14-10 going into the fourth, and then suddenly it's 35-10 final score.
Right.
I feel like Georgia has that ability to really put it together if they need to, and so for that, I'll take Georgia.
Yeah, the spread for this game, 2.5 in favor of Georgia, and I'm kind of like you there. I'm going to take Georgia. Their offense has been spotty this year, but like you said, they at times when it comes crunch time, they have that extra gear they can get in. And this is really a prove it to me game by Kalen DeBoer and this Crimson Tide. This isn't, as they would say, your grandpa's Alabama with Nick Saban. So there's still a lot of pressure there. But let's see how he holds his own against Kirby. This time around, as we saw that matchup early, and Alabama did get the win earlier in the season. So
yes, I just don't. I don't see them doing it.
I don't think they do it twice.
No, it's hard to beat a team twice in 1 year, especially a team as good and well coached as Georgia.
Right. As we jump over to the Big Ten Championship, the number 2 Indiana Hoosiers, 12-0, is headed to Indianapolis Lucas Oil Stadium to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes, number 1, 12-0. I mean, like Pigpen says here, I can't help but feel it. Like, sorry, Indiana, but as Pigpen says, it's Ohio State, and it's not even be close.
You know what? I'll play devil's advocate, I'll take Indiana on this one. Okay, I think that Indiana hasn't really struggled too much. I mean, they went on the road to Oregon and won.
Yeah,
I think Indiana's a lot better and a lot more not real than they were last year. I think last year their schedule kind of helped them get the record and ranking that they had, and then in big games they were kind of exposed. This year, I think that they are a legit team and they can really play. And also, I think their quarterback feels a little disrespected. So I'm kind of expecting him to come out with a chip on his shoulder. They may not win, but it'll definitely be one possession. I think at worst, it's a field goal game. I think Indiana will come out and surprise some people for sure.
Yeah, I think it could be one of two scenarios. To your point, either it's going to come out and be really close, or they're going to come out and it's not even going to be close. Like, I don't think there's an in between. I feel like it has to be one or the other.
That happening. I could see Ohio State coming out, and at halftime it'd be 35-3. I could see that, but I can also see Indiana surprising some people. So, and at least keeping it close, and maybe getting a lucky break or two.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be a fun one to watch. Final one of the night, we've got the ACC championship, and this one has me scratching my head. You got number 17, Virginia, 10-2. Okay, I got it. Charlotte, North Carolina at Bank of America Stadium. Their opponent in the ACC championship game is 7-5 Duke. How this worked out with all these tiebreakers, I don't know. But like, if you just look at the rest of the ACC, you've got SMU at 8-4. Miami's 10-2, and they're 6-2. Yeah. But you've got,
I don't know.
3, 4 other teams with the same conference record as Duke.
I'm surprised that overall record is not a tiebreaker. So you would have Miami and Virginia. That makes a lot more sense to me.
Right. Personally. But you see 7-5 Duke sitting there.
I'll take Virginia on this one.
Yeah, this is one where, they've surprised me a lot this year, Virginia. 10-2, they've been quietly good. They lost a couple games. They dropped that game to NC State early in the season.
They didn't have their starting quarterback for a couple games.
True.
So that's one where it's okay. Well, can you really attribute? I forgot. There was one game I was watching with them, and they lost, but they home to 14 points. It was okay, well, if their starting quarterback was in, they probably would have won that game.
Yeah.
So I'll take Virginia.
Well, and this is a rematch, from just a couple weeks ago where they beat Duke 34-17. So we'll see if Duke has some revenge on their mind. But I'm like you, I'm going to take Virginia in this game. And so, it's going to be fun championship week. And then we get to selection Sunday and see who's going to be in the college football playoffs. And not to mention, we're one step closer to getting to what all Arkansas fans are ready for is transfer portal season. Exactly. So as we get ready to wrap up here, we're going to be in tune with everything. So news comes out, we're going to be here to get it to you guys. And so, with that, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, specifically on YouTube. Hit that bell. That way you don't miss anytime we go live with news, whether it be our regular Thursday or Sunday show or an emergency breaking news show that could occur if anything big time happens. But we'll be on the watch for any other news on Silverfield and his staff. That's the next thing to watch for until we get to transfer portal season. So as we get ready to wrap up, like I said, we'll keep you guys on tune with what we hear. You got anything else before we get out of here, Zane?
Nope. Thanks for putting up and listening to us. So that's about it.
Agreed. So everybody have a great Friday. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you back here on Sunday for your Sunday afternoon Razor recap. And we'll see what news we have for you then. We'll break down the Fresno State game that's in Little Rock and any other news going on in Razorback Nation. So that we're going to wrap up. From Zane and myself, we're going to get out here, and we'll see you guys on Sunday.